Good morning, children. Sai Ram. I again welcome you all to the online class of economics. Children, today I am going to start the next chapter of our book, that is chapter number 4th, and the name of our chapter is Strategy of Industrial Growth, that is 1947 to 1990. Children, in today's video, we are going to learn the importance of industry, the factors necessitating the direct participation of the state, that is the public sector, in the industrial development. Then we are going to learn the IPR 1956, that is the Industrial Policy Resolution, a declaration for a leading role of the public sector. And at last, we are going to learn the development of small scale industry. So, children, let us start with our first topic, that is importance of industry. Children, as you all know, the developing countries like India can progress only if they have a good industrial sector. So, industry provides employment which is more stable than the employment in agriculture. Children, industrialization promotes modernization and overall prosperity. As we all know, due to these reasons, the 5 year plan stressed a lot on the industrial sector. I have already explained you in the previous videos, like the as soon as the got independence from the British rule on 15th August 1947, then we are moving on for the development of our country's economy, and for doing so, we have initiated 5 year plans, that is the long term as well as the short term goals of development or growth of our country's economy. And for doing so, in the year 1951, on 1st April, we have started a first 5 year plan, which is majorly focusing on improvement of an agriculture sector. As we all know, a country's economy was considered as an agrarian economy because agriculture was a primary sources of livelihood for most of our people living in a country. This 5 year plans was started from 1st April 1951 to 31st March 1956. Thereafter, a second 5 year plan was launched in 1st April 1956, which is again focused on the industrial sector. I mean, from an agriculture, we are shifting into the industrial sector. So, at the time of independence, the variety of industries was very limited, children. The cotton, textiles, and the jute industries were mostly developed in India. There were only two well managed iron and the steel firms, one in Jamshedpur and the other in Kolkata. So, there was a strong need to expand the industrial base with a variety of industries. So, an industrial sector play an important role in the context of the growth and development of our country, and the importance of an industrial sector in a developing countries like India can be expressed by the following points. Now, the first point of yours is the epicenter of economic growth. Children, industry serves as the epicenter of an economic growth, and this is can be understood with the following points. The first, as the GDP rises, there is a structural transformation in the economy, because we know the contribution of agriculture was less towards the working population of a country. Therefore, we have shifted from the agriculture to the industrial sector, and from shifting from agriculture to industrial sector, we have find there was a great increase in the GDP. So if the GDP rises there, then it shows a structural transformation of an economy. Second point, children, industry start replacing the agriculture as the engine of growth. This is because unlike agriculture, industry provides a wide range of goods which the consumers would like to consume as their income rises. Children, as we have a variety of crops in an agriculture, we do have started uh, producing a variety of goods for the consumers, as this kind of goods can be easily consumed by the consumers as their income rises. So children, as the consumer's income rises, he is in a position to consume more and more goods and services. So this can be possible only when the industrial sector can improve. Third is the rise of demand for agricultural goods consequent upon a rise in income is always very modest, because the agricultural goods like wheat and rice are the necessities of life and have low income elasticity of demand. A low income elasticity of demand, no matters the prices increases or decreases, but the demands cannot be decreased with the increase in prices. Their demand will always keep on increasing with the increasing prices. So the industry replaces agriculture as an epicenter of growth. Second is children, sources of employment. Children, as we all know, in agriculture, we used to do substance farming, and for doing so, we find a disgust and unemployment in agriculture, because more and more people are employed, whereas less are needed. But just to set up the industries, children, more important source of employment can be find out, and it becomes very significant when agriculture is already overburdened and the labor force is rising rapidly. So so the agriculture, so children, with a rise in agriculture productivity, the farmer sectors has released a large supply of workforce. So it can be gainfully employed only if the occupation outside the agriculture sector is playing a very crucial role in this contest. So children, just with the introduction of more and more industries, it gives more job employment to the people who are living in a country. So I'm going to say that with the introduction of industries, children, it will be a great source of employment. It is industry playing an important role in the sources of employment. Next is children, sources of mechanized means of farming. Children, as we used to do an old method of irrigation facilities, we do not have the permanent means of irrigations. We do not have the primitive. We do not have the innovative technologies for doing agriculture. But once the industrial sector was introduced, we are getting the tractors, threshers, harvesters for in farming, and with this use of machineries, children, the farming has become possible only, which is owing for the growth and the development of the industry. So mechanism has caused an exponential rise in the farm productivity, and just because of owing to the mechanization in farming, that India has succeeded in producing enough food for the second most populated country in the world. Next is impart dynamism to the growth process. Children, industry imparts the dynamism to growth process. As we all know, if in the absence of industry, the growth process would have been restricted to the production of food for the survival. If we do not entertain the new method of technology, the new method of irrigation facilities, we used to do the substance farming without the availability of HYV sheets, insecticides, pesticides, and the mechanized means of irrigations. We used to do the substance farming. This growth can be become possible only when the industrial sector was being introduced. So the industrialization has added the new dimensions to the human life, and it has generated a ways of consumerism, that is the endless consumption of a variety of goods and services. Next is growth of civilization. Children, urbanization has led to the growth of civilizations. Now the people became very conscious of their standard of life, because if their income increases, they worked hard to achieve the high level of education and the skills. So culturally, the diverse societies are getting closer to each other, and the world economies are merging into the global economy. So, children, with the growth in the industrial as well as the income rises, there is the growth of the civilizations we are going to notice, because the peoples are now getting more skilled, and they wanted to be more educated in the diverse areas. Next is children, in infrastructural growth. Children, industrialization has led to the infrastructural growth in the economy. As we all know, the industry tend to spread across different parts of the country. So, and as it spreads, there is an expansion of the infrastructural facilities, such as the means of the transport and communication, banking and insurance services, power, and the like. So, children, with the growth in the industrial sector, we have uh, we have find as there is an expansion of an infrastructure facilities like the transportation, the communication, banking, insurance, services, power, etc. This can be become possible if the infrastructural growth became possible if the industries were set up. So in fact, both are interrelated. The growth of one accelerates the growth of the other. Next is industrialization is sine qua non of growth. Children, the growth process and the industrialization are so intimately related to each other that industrialization is often taken as a sine qua non of growth. Children, it implying that the growth occurs as when the industrialization spread. It is a fact that most developed countries today are industrialized. You are watching that any nations whose became more powerful in terms of GDP as well as in powers. You are finding out that their industrial sectors are increasing very rapidly, and these countries are very rich in the industrialization. So it is a fact that the most developed countries today are industrialized countries. So industrialization has emerged as an inevitable route of a process of growth. Now, children, we are going to learn the factors necessitating direct participation of the state in the industrial development. Children, along with you can say the need to develop the industry as an epicenter of growth, the planners and the politicians also realized that the process of industrialization could not be left to the market forces of supply and demand. I mean, they they realized that the growth and the development could not be go in the hands of capital the capitalist economy or the free market economy, but it should also be left to the wisdom. It should also be left to the it also left to the hands of the public sectors as well. So it could not be left to the wisdom of a private entrepreneurs. The direct participation of the states were considered essential in the view of the following matters. So, children, what I'm going to say is we are now going to learn the factors which is very necessitating the direct participation of the state. I mean, in this topic, we are going to learn the factors responsible why there is the direct participation of the public sector in the industrial development, because as we all know, in the 1960 to 1990, the condition of our public sectors was very worse, and the public's undertaking or the public sectors are going in loss just because they are not having a proper funds available if as comparing with the private enterprises. So, this direct participation of the public sector was considered essential in the view of the following factors. Now, first one is lack of capital. Children, as you all know, at the time of independence, the Tata and the Birla were the only established industrial houses in India. The requirement of the capital for the country industrial growth was far beyond the capacity of their industrial houses. So, the industrial development in India needed a big push and implying a large amount of capital expenditure, and for doing so, accordingly, it becomes essential for the public sector or the government to achieve the industrial growth through the public sector undertakings. I mean, we are in a position to to we are in a position for achieving industrial growth through the public sector undertakings. Now, next one is low inducement to invest. Children, the private investors lacked inducement to invest. It was owing to the limited size of the market, and the limited size of the market was owing to the low level of demand, and level of demand was low because of the low level of income. So, children, this was a sort of vicious circles operating like this. If we have a low income, it leads to a low demand, and this low demand leads to a limited size of the market, which again represent a low inducement to invest. And if it is a low investment, then it is a low income, and if it is a low income, then everything is going in yeah, everything is going in the losing way. So only a big push of a public investment could could break this vicious circle, and accordingly, children, the public enterprises were the obvious choice to initiate the process of industrialization. Next is growth with the social justice. Children, the government realized that this objective would be achieved only through the direct participation of the public sector in the process of industrialization, and because of it requires investment that generates the employment rather than the investment that maximizes profit, and concentration of wealth was to be discouraged, and the public investment was considered as the mean to achieve it. So, children, this were the factors necessitating the process of industrial the process of the direct participation of the state in the industrial process. Now, children, we are going to learn one of the most important topic of this chapter, that is IPR Resolution, that is Industrial Policy Resolution 1956, which is a declaration on a leading role of the state. Children, what is IPR, the Industrial Policy Resolution? Children, industrial policy is basically a comprehensive package of policy measures which covers various issues connected with the different industrial enterprise of the country. Industrial policy is essential for devising various procedures, principles, rules, and regulations for controlling the industrial enterprise of the country. And after the Industrial Policy Resolution 1948, Indian economy had to face a series of economic and the political changes which necessitated the need for a fresh industrial policy for the country. and so on. On 30 April 1956, a second industrial policy resolution was adopted in India. So, Industrial Policy Resolution 1956 was a clear declaration on the government on the leading role of the government in the process of industrialization. And this resolution led a roadmap on the second 5 year plans. Along, it was a milestone of achieving growth with the social justice. So, let's talk about the classification of industry. So the principal elements of IPR 1956 are as follows. First one is threefold classification of industry. So children, industries were basically classified into the three categories. So, according to the Industrial Policy Resolution 1956, children, the industries were reclassified into the three categories. That is, you can see that in Schedule A, Schedule B, and in Schedule C. In Schedule A, children, this first category comprised the industries which would be exclusively owned by the state. I mean, in the first variety of industries, that is the Schedule A. Now this category comprise the industries which are exclusively owned by the state, or you can say by the public sectors or by the government. So in the schedule, children, the 17 industries were included, like the arms and ammunitions, atomic energy, heavy and core industries, aircraft, oil, railways, shipping, etc. These were the industries which would be established and developed exclusively on the public sector enterprises. Now, the second one is the Schedule B. So, in the Schedule B, in Schedule, this is the one in Schedule 1, which is belongs to PSU, the public sector undertakings, in which the 17 industries were included, in which we are going to find out. The first is arms and ammunition, then atomic energy, then we have heavy and core industries, then we have aircraft, then we have oil, railways, shipping, etc. These are the 17 industries which comes in the first schedule. Now we're talking about the second schedule, the schedule B. So children, in this schedule, 12 industries were placed which would be progressively straight on. These are basically the state on. So the state would have the initiative of setting up industries and the private sector which supplement effort of the state. So this schedule includes industries like the aluminium. First one, second is aluminium. This sectors, I mean, this schedule includes industries like aluminium, other mining, industries, machine tools, then we have fertilizers, etc. So all such kind of industries which were initiated of setting up the industries by the state on will be included in schedule B, and those could be established both by the state and the public sector enterprise. However, the private sector was to play only a secondary role, and new enterprises were to establish primarily in the public sector. So, this categories, as I just said, include the fertilizers industries, mining industries, etc. Now, we are moving on to the third one, that is Schedule Third. This is Schedule C, the third one. So this schedule consists of the remaining industries which were to be in the private sector. The state would facilitate and encourage the development of all the industries. So these industries were controlled by the state through a system of license enforced under the Industries Development and Regulation Act 1951. So, children, accordingly, we had three classification. The first classification related to a Schedule A, which comprises of the industry exclusively owned by the state. I mean, the first category is related with those industries which is basically owned by the state. I mean, by the government. Second is the Schedule B, which comprises of the 12 industries which would be progressively state owned. I mean, it is being operated by the private as well as by the public enterprises. I mean, uh, some kind of sharing we have the private sector and majorly of a public sector. Now is the schedule third is the Schedule C, which comprises of the remaining industries which were to be in the private sector. So this is the threefold classification of industries. Now, children, we are moving on to the second point, the industrial licensing. Children, and industrial licensing is a written permission from the government to an industrial unit to manufacture goods. I mean, if we want to set up an industries, then we need an industrial license, a written permission from the government to produce or to manufacture goods. So, the Industrial Development and the Regulation Act 1951 empowered the government to issue the license for setting up the new industries, for the expansion of the existing one, and for the diversification of products. I mean, we need a license if we want to set up a new industry. Second, if we need to expansion of our existing one, and the third, if we want to diversification of products. So we need a licensing for these three particular reasons. So, children, according to the industrial licensing, no new industry was allowed unless a license is obtained from the government. Second, it was easier to obtain a license if the industrial unit was established in an economically backward area. In addition, such units were given certain concessions such as the tax benefits, the electricity at a lower tariff, and the purpose of basically this policy was to promote a regional equality. So, children, the industrial licensing will be providing only with this following points keeping in mind. And the third is, children, license was needed even if an existing industry want to expand output or diversify production. So license to expand the production was given only if the government was convinced that there is a need for the larger quantity of goods in the economy. So, children, a license, as I just said, was needed not only for establishing a new enterprises, but also for expanding the production capacity of an existing one. So this was to be regulate the allocation of resources to the different users, and the focus was to promote the social welfare rather than the private profits. Next, we have children, industrial concession. Children, the private entrepreneurs were often many type of industrial concessions for established industries in the backward area of the country. So the concessions include, children, the tax holidays, subsidized power supply. I mean, this kind of concessions will be providing by the government just to establish or just to initiate their industries in the rural sector, so that more and more job opportunities can be created in the rural sectors, and the rural sectors can also be joined with the urban sectors, and we cannot and we should have an regional equality among all the areas of a country. So this is the industrial concession given to the various industries at the time of setting up their industries. Now we are going to learn the next topic, that is the development of the small scale industries, that is SSI. Children, as you all know, in the year 1955, the Village and the Small Scale Industries Committee, like Curve Committee, recognized the possibilities of using the small scale industries to promote the rural development. So, what is a small scale industry? If we're talking about a small scale industry, in short, we can say it SSI is defined with reference to the maximum investment allowed on the asset of a unit. So, this limit has changed from rupees 5 lakhs in the year 1950 to present limit of rupees 1 crore. So, children, in the year 1955, it was again saying that if there is any industry which is considered as a small scale industry, if we want to set up a small scale industries, or we can say a small scales industry is an industry whose maximum investment should not be more than from 5 lakhs, should not be more than 5 lakhs in the year 1950. Now we can at this time, I mean in the year 1950 to 55, we can say that a small scale industry is an industry whose maximum investment can be 5 lakhs of rupees, but at now it is 1 crore. So industry whose investment is nearby 1 crores or up to 1 crore will be considered as the small scale industry. So children, we have some important points about the small scale industry. The first one is employment generation. As we all know, small scale industries are more labor intensive, as you all know, that is, they use more labor than the large scale industries, and therefore they generate more employment. So after agriculture, small scale industries provide employment to the largest number of peoples in India. Second is need for the production from the big firms. Children, small scale industries cannot compete with the big industrial firms. They can flourish only when they are protected from the large firms. So various steps were taken by the government for their growth, and this kind of steps can be expressed like reservation of the products. So government reserve production of a number of products for the small scale industries. The creation for reserving the products depends upon the ability of these units to manufacture the goods, and the various concessions. I mean, the small scale industries were also given concessions such as lower excise duty and bank loans at an lower interest rate. So this kind of protections will be offered to the small scale industries just to compete with the big industrial firms, and this kind of reservation will be given just to promote the small scale industry. Next, and the most important, the three typical characteristics of SSI. So, children, as I just explained you, SSI is a labor intensive and therefore employment friendly. So, children, small scale industry is generally considered to be a labor intensive, while the large scale industry is a capital intensive. So, to produce a given output, a small scale industry is expected to use more of labor rather than the capital. So, a large scale industry, on the other hand, uses more of capital than labor. We inherited an economy from the British, which was a capital deficient economy and a labor surplus economy. So, accordingly, our planners rightly thought of achieving full employment by focusing on the small scale industry. Next is SSI show locational flexibility, and there is therefore equity oriented. So large scale industries like Bhilai steels or Rourkela steels is often established close to the sources of raw material. This is because the raw material requirement of the large scale industries is very huge. It, its transportations from a distance place leading to the high cost of transformation. So SSI on the other hand shows the locational flexibilities. It is therefore the equality oriented, contributing to the backward regions growth. Next is SSI needs a small investment and is therefore equity oriented. SSI needs much smaller investment as compared to the large scale industries, and accordingly it does not lead to concentration of the economic growth. Rather, it promotes equality across the different sections of the society, and equity is further promoted because of the greater employment per unit of investment in SSI as compared with to the large scale industry. So, children, so far what we have understood, we have understood first the growth of industry. Thereafter, we have learned the factors necessitating the direct participation of the public sector in the industrial development. Finally, we have learned the IPR 1956, which is basically a clear declaration of the leading role of the state. And at last, we have learned the development of small scale industries. We have learned what is small scale industries, how much is their maximum investment. In 1950 it was you can say 55 lakhs, and it increases up to 1 crore at present. So, children, that's all for today. And in the next video, we are going to learn the next chapter, that is new economic policies, that is liberalization, privatization, and globalization. So, children, thank you so much for watching and have a nice day. Sai Ram.